Michael Force here again. Welcome to Aspire Startup Step number 3. This is a very, very important step and one that will change your life. I can tell you that it did for me. Basically, we're going to help you rewire your brain a little bit from going from employee mentality to an entrepreneur mentality, and really how to rewire your brain for success when it comes to online marketing, internet marketing, or just even as an entrepreneur. I will tell you that this changed everything for me, and realized that you are not just worth $10 or $15 an hour or $20 an hour, that you have really a kind of, I don't know what the best word to say, but really you're untapped. I mean, there is no ceilings for you. You can take it to any level that you want, online or in life. And we're going to show you how to do that here in this step 3, and how to rewire your brain to make sure that you are reaching your full potential and getting to the top of the mountain. So I look forward to doing that with you. Let's jump into step 3, and I'll see you on the inside. Hello, Michael Force here again. Welcome to step 3. Our startup steps here with the step 3 is the millionaire mind, how to rewire your brain to guarantee your success. Here again we are with the Aspire Startup Steps. Let's dig in and move on here. I've been doing this for a number of years now, actually about a little over 15 years. We've had hundreds of thousands of people on our list, and my list personally. And we've hundreds of thousands of people that actually go to our live events and live webinars and live seminars and local events. Now, what's always interested me is I get to see the people who get started in the industry with very similar circumstances. One of them goes on to not do very well and never sees anything through, and the other one goes on to be a 7- and 8-figure earner. Now, why is this, and how is that even possible? Well, it all begins up here with your mindset. You see, when you start this business, you need to start thinking like a business owner and an entrepreneur, and not an employee. You can think like an employee. You can't think like an employee anymore. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it. Today, you will see how personal development is really tied to financial development. There is always the mindset before the skill set. You'll get to see how that works, how you can dig in, and how you can take your mind and your business to the next level just by the way you think. Now, this is an extremely important step, so make sure you watch it in full. It's not that long, but it's detailed. Set aside some time. Remove all the distractions and focus on the entire video. By the way, make sure that you connect with your coach after this step as well. He or she will be showing you how you can take your business to the next level. All right, let's dive in. In this step, we're going to be talking about an important shift that we all need to take place in order for us to be successful online or offline. So please pay close attention. Again, remove all distractions. Log out of Facebook, turn off all notifications, whatever else you have open right now, and let's get started. On this step, we're going to be going over the employee mindset versus the business mindset, okay? The entrepreneurial mindset. This is really, really important. Growing up, if you're anything like me, you think back to your childhood, most people had no choice. We weren't made aware of being an entrepreneur was even an option, unless you grew up in an entrepreneurial family. At least it wasn't encouraged. Most of us were programmed from the very early age to go to school and get a job. That was just drawn into our minds. School didn't really even talk about being entrepreneurs. They talked about training you, getting you ready to go to high school, go to college, and then get the job. Actual modern day schools were actually created by people back in the early 1900s, which was a corporate training program. They essentially wanted to get you on the assembly line. Sad as it is, that's really what it's become today. Now, we're not taught to be or do what we really want to be or do. We're not taught how to become masters of wealth in our own time. It's really up to us to learn how to make the shift from employee mentality to one of controlling our own lives, of being an entrepreneur, taking full responsibility and ownership of where our lives are going. We have to learn to free our minds of the limiting beliefs that have drawn us in from a very young age and that we've been conditioned to think like. Let me prove it to you right here. If you wanted to become a lawyer, or if you wanted to become a judge, or if you wanted to become a medical doctor or an architect, how would you get started? That's a pretty clear path, isn't it? To enter into one of these different occupations, you pretty much know what you need to do. You have to go and get additional schooling. You have to go and get a degree in whatever field it is and obtain the credentials that would qualify you to get a job in any one of these categories, right? Well, let me put it to you this way. How would you answer this question? How do you become a millionaire? How do you become a successful entrepreneur? How do I become the person that I need to achieve all the goals in my life? We're not really taught any of this in any school or university. We're not taught the business mindset. Conditioning or reconditioning from maximum success for maximum success is critical. It's everything. That's where it all begins. You have to identify and get rid of limiting beliefs from the past that are holding you back in business, and lots of people have them. A great example, and one of my favorite quotes, is John Elliott. As soon as anyone starts telling him or you to be realistic, you can just cross that person off the invitation list. They're not invited. This is a powerful quote, and one that should be written down. If people are talking to you about what's realistic and what's real, then that is more or less an employee mindset trying to keep you down and trying to keep you focused. Now, sometimes those intentions are true and they're good. They're trying to protect you from things that are unknown to them. But ultimately, every single millionaire or billionaire that I've ever known or met has simply said that surrounding yourself with successful people and people who don't think like that is ultimately the real key to your success. Now, you may have heard of a guy called Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, he talked about how when he first began to escape the employee mindset, he went to a weekend of self-development workshop. And the instructor drew this diagram on a board and basically said that to become a successful person, we need these 4 things. This is very different than what Robert had ever heard before. Just looking at this diagram really quickly, you'll see why many students, and often the A students, the people who got A's, why they fail in the real world when it comes to money and true wealth. Here's how it works. You can be educated logically and mentally, but if you're not educated emotionally, the fear will stop you from doing what you must do to become a success outside of the system that most people get trapped into. I hope you get that. You have to have the best, you can have the best results in school. You can be a straight A student, but if you're not educated emotionally, fear is going to paralyze you. That's something called paralysis by analysis. This actually is really caused by your own education system. Think about how you went through school. When you made a mistake, what happened? You got punished, didn't you? Our education system punishes people for making mistakes. A students are successful only for making the least amount of mistakes. But in the real world, it's slightly different. People who take action and succeed in the real world are the ones who make the most mistakes and learn from them. That's why when Thomas Edison was criticized for making 1,114 mistakes before creating the electrical light bulb, he said, "I did not fail 1,014 times. I successfully found out what did not work 1,014 times." I'm sure you've heard that before, but really just look at the statement. It's very true in the real world, and I can speak from this from a personal experience, having made tens of millions of dollars online, and then having my first 2 years where I barely made sales at all, and I was considered what many people would consider a failure. I can't really say that I was ready for this. The people who come into business, who become entrepreneurs, who make the most mistakes and then learn from those mistakes, those are the people who get ahead. The people who don't want to make mistakes, who want to get all the knowledge and everything in place before they even take one step of action, those are the people who usually make anything because they never take action. Don't make anything because they never take action. They're afraid to make mistakes. Many people are not successful because they fail enough times. They let fear hold them back. Where are your income streams coming from right now? Think about it. In Robert Kiyosaki's books, The Cash Flow Quadrant, he talks about 4 types of people that make up the world of business, and every one of us resides in one of these quadrants. How do we know which one? Well, the best way to determine this is to look at where most of our cash is coming from. Achieving financial success and freedom is possible in each of these categories, but it's much easier and can be achieved much faster in the B and I quadrants, where 90% of wealth comes from. Now, before we go ahead, let me just define what each of these stands for. E stands for employee. S stands for self-employed, like a doctor or a psychologist or any of those type of people. Now, a business owner is someone that owns a McDonald's or owns a system. An investor is someone who owns companies and or owns shares of companies. If you look at it in the B and I side, they've mastered systems. They've mastered leveraging their own time. That's on the right side. Now, anyone can be a part of the wealthy and on the right side, but there's a limitation wall. That limitation wall is usually the way that you presently think and or your mindset. Your mindset determines what side you are on. Fear. In Robert Kiyosaki's books, The Cash Flow Quadrant, like I said, has a number of those. But I can tell you that what I have seen from successful and very wealthy people is that all say this: I'd rather make 1% off 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts. That's leverage. That gets you the time freedom to spend with those you care most about. There's another guy I'd like to introduce you to. I don't know if you already know him, but T. Harv Eker. He wrote a great book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He paints the picture of the overall difference between the mindset of the poor and the rich. Now, let's look at a few of them here. Let's break it down. What is the difference in mindset really between the poor and the wealthy or the rich? The poor and middle class, they believe that life happens to them. Okay? Have you ever met someone where an unfortunate circumstance they got wasn't their fault? They always saying or blaming someone else? Okay, it's always someone else's fault. Things were always happening to them. They were always approaching things from the way a victim would. On the other hand, someone who is essentially financially independent and rich and wealthy, you'll never meet someone like that who thinks like that. I'm not talking about people who inherited money. If you've ever met someone who built their wealth from the ground up on their own, they're not a victim. They are definitely not a victim. They believe that they create their own life. They accept full responsibility for everything that happens to them, whatever circumstances that they're in. Another one for the poor and middle class, they play the money game, not to lose. They see opportunity. They always focus on the downside. They're always looking at it from the perspective of, what if I lose my money? It's very much a fear-driven perspective. Financially independent, wealthy people, they play the money game to win. They focus on the upside. Now, I'm not saying that they are reckless. They still look at the risk involved, but they focus on the potential. They focus on where they want to go. They're not focused on preserving what they have. Poor middle class, they want to be rich. The poor middle class, they want to be rich. Okay? This is one big one. They want to be rich. Financially independent and wealthy people are committed to being rich. There's a big difference between wanting and being committed. While we're on this, let me stress something to you mentioned in step 1. Most people don't even finish these steps. Now, when I say most people, I'm talking about 70 to 80% of people never even get to the end of these steps. A lot of people get started with the steps because they want results. They want to be wealthy. They want to have a business that is largely automated. They want to make big commissions, but that's not enough. I'm telling you this from experience because I've done it. I'm telling you what's required and that it's not enough for you to just merely want it. You have to be committed to getting it. That's why I keep on telling you that you need to commit to doing steps in this program every single day. Try and do one every single day and stick to it. Go through the entire steps. That's a commitment. That's what you need to do to be successful. Now, let me skip a line and go to the next one. The poor middle class, they focus on obstacles. They focus on things that are in the way of preventing them from getting ahead. Financially independent and rich and wealthy people, they focus on opportunities. They spend their time going after new opportunities. Now, the last one is the real big one. Poor middle class, they resent the rich and successful people. This is really important. Whenever you see someone who is rich or successful on TV or in a newspaper, what is your first reaction? Do you resent them? Do you think that they probably lied and cheated to get where they are? Do you think they're money hungry or that they should be content on what they have and not be so greedy? Do you think thoughts like this? I sure hope not. But chances are, I bet you know people who do think like this. Now, financially independent, rich, and wealthy people, they don't resent other successful people. In fact, they admire them. If I've ever seen a billionaire on TV, I don't think anything negative about that person, or even a millionaire, or even anyone successful. Based on if I see them, I don't think anything negative about them at all. My automatic thought, my automatic reaction is I bet that person worked extremely hard to get where they are. I'll bet they were driven, focused. They had fortitude, drive, determination, motivation. I'll bet they're very ambitious. Good on them for actually going out and making it happen. Good for them for actually achieving it. I admire them for being the successful people they are because of how they think. I'm all about having big goals and going after them, and you should too. So let's look at a few more here. Poor and middle class associate with negative and unsuccessful people. Do you have people around you who are always negative? They're always putting all of your stuff or their stuff or any stuff down with negative comments. I'll bet again I'm making a guess, but I'm right. I'll bet you've had people in your life right now, if you told them that you're going through these steps, that you're learning how to make money online and how to do it the right way, I'll bet the first comment out of their mouth would be something like, oh, that's a scam. Those things don't work. You're getting taken. That's all a waste of time. Why are you doing that? You should focus on your job. Do any of these things sound familiar? I've had a lot of people doing that around me when I first got started. Now, financially independent, wealthy people purposefully associate with other people who think like them, who are positive and successful. It's not that they think that they're better than other people. It's that they understand that the environment around them is a huge impact on where they are in life. Let's say if you're in a job and you're working with very negative or unpleasant people, how can that not affect you? It does affect you. Of course, it permeates in your life. If that's where you are, you need to get out of that as quickly as possible. Here's another one. Poor and middle class people think negatively about selling and promoting. This is a big one. A lot of people who have fear about an idea of promoting, they don't want to do it. They think that I don't want to be. They think I don't want to be calling themselves a salesperson or a successful person, or they don't believe that sales is some form of low activity. Financially independent rich people, they love to promote themselves and their values. They love to do it. If they believe in what they're promoting, they will happily do it. By the way, you've got to get comfortable with promoting. There's nothing wrong with promoting. And if you want to be successful, you've got to be okay with it. You've got to learn how to promote. Now let me skip a few. The poor middle class, they are poor receivers. If you say you give them money and you would say something like, no, I wouldn't possibly take your money. They're uncomfortable with money. They are very uncomfortable with it. If they get a bonus at work, they find a way to go and spend that money very quickly. Financially independent rich people are excellent receivers. They are very comfortable with receiving money. Let me tell you something. I'm very comfortable with receiving money. I'm very comfortable with receiving large amounts of money. It was always that way. In fact, my first couple of years online, I was a bit uncomfortable with it at some time, but I got more and more comfortable with it over the years, to the tune of millions of dollars in the bank account. I'm very comfortable with the idea now. Now, you need to ask yourself, are you comfortable with the idea of receiving $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 or more? Whatever your target is, and you are actually really comfortable with it, think about that for a second. Are you? Simply put, to change your life and to be successful on the right side of the cash flow quadrant you saw before, you must change your thinking. Really where it all begins. If you don't change your thinking, nothing is going to change for you. For things to change for you, you have to change. If you think below in the text, you'll see that we put key differences down there. Take a look at them and see how they may resonate with you. Throughout this program, we'll be giving you nearly everything on a silver platter. We'll be giving you the most powerful proven system, a documentation that works for many people from all walks of life. Plus, you'll have access to our coaches and business coaches helping you along the way. But that doesn't substitute that you must take full responsibility for your own results and in business and in life. I cannot stress how important that reality is. Every result that you get in business and in life ultimately is your responsibility. Whether you go on to make six figures with the system that you're learning about in these steps, or you're going to be completely dependent upon yourself, you need to take full responsibility. No matter how powerful something is, no one can force you to do it. No one can make you change or climb. Now, we can give you the best tools and gear in the world, but you still have to put one foot in front of another as you climb the mountain. You're the climber in your life, so you have to commit to being a no-excuse type of person and take responsibility for the results in your business and in your life if you want to get to the top. Here's another key mindset shift. People with employee mindset are afraid to take a single step forward unless they see a clearly laid out path in front of them. They need to know all the answers first. Entrepreneurs and the wealthy, they jump off cliffs and they build the plane on the way down. They get comfortable with things being imperfect and uncomfortable. They don't have to know the steps before they move forward. They can go full force forward without having to know all of the answers first. The greatest success that you will have in life and in business will usually come from something that you fear doing, or you didn't know what the result would be when you started. It's like a dark staircase. You can only see a few steps ahead, and you don't ultimately know what lies ahead. You trust the system, and you just do it. Don't let fear and the unknown hold you back. You have to act in spite of fear, and just trust that it's a proven system. It works for others, so just take a step at a time, and it will work for you. Another thing I want to talk to you about is, who are you getting your advice from? Who are you listening to? Advisors or mentors? Advisors know very little. Work or opinionated people know very little. Mentors have been there and done that. Chances are you have people in your life who are possibly advising you right now that you have no real experience and no success to show for it. They're advising you in your online business, for example. If you told people that, hey, I'm starting an online business or I'm learning how to make sales online, a lot of people might advise you that they would say, well, that is all a waste of time. None of that stuff works. They're your advisors. They don't really know what they're talking about because they've actually never done it. Unless they're driving around in 6, 7, and 8-figure cars and living that kind of lifestyle, then they're people you shouldn't really be listening to. Mentors, on the other hand, are people who have actually been there and done that. They're actually taking the steps themselves, and they know what they're talking about. You have to ask yourself, are you going to listen to these advisors or these opinions? Or are you going to follow instructions from real mentors with real results? When I began interviewing business leaders over the years, I've had a fair amount of success myself. I started surrounding myself with only successful people. I didn't realize the impact it would have on me. Getting the opportunity to talk to dozens of successful people on a monthly basis or every couple of months, inspiring individuals, that's really nothing short of incredible for me. Throughout this conversation, I got VIP access to some of their secrets and advice. What motivated them? What helped them get to where they are today? Over the next steps here on the next slides, I'm going to basically break it down to you. The next steps are being lessons so far, from them to me to you. So let's break it down. My mom always used to say, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. And she was right, because millionaires surround themselves with other millionaires. If we really are the sum of people we surround ourselves with, it's so important to surround yourself with the right ones. Successful people are always networking with others at events, at local events, online, conferences, and mastermind groups. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Number 2, money in itself won't make you happy, but money can buy the freedom to do the things that can make you happy. True happiness comes from filling your time. Filling your time with your days with meaningful pursuits that you're passionate about. I've met people who are incredibly unhappy, and poor people in the third world countries who are some of the happiest people I've ever encountered. The point is that it's possible to be happy right now, whether you have $20 or $20 million. By being grateful for what you have, for being alive, and for having this day, you'll be more present and have a better perspective. The great Tony Robbins once said that it's not about the goal, it's about becoming the type of person that can accomplish the goal. If you remember the quote from what I mentioned before, it's not the mountain we conquer, it's ourselves. Most millionaires will tell you that it's not so much about making the money, it's about the growing as a person, growing your business to a point where it's capable of making money. The journey is far more valuable than the destination. And once you've arrived, the question becomes, now what? That's why it's so important to enjoy the ride and be grateful for how far you've come and what you've achieved thus far. Almost every successful person you ask will tell you that they've had a mentor at some point along the way, for someone you admire, someone you look up to, someone who's where you want to be, and ask them guidance to help you improve who you are and what you want to become. With their advice, you learn best practices. You'll be challenged. You'll be better prepared to succeed. Every entrepreneur and successful person I've met is a lifelong learner. They understand the importance of constantly improving, constantly growing. Driven people self-educate through books, audio tapes, online courses, digital information, seminars, live events. They are determined to always learn new steps, to keep developing as a person, to never be stagnant and never be stopped. Millionaires know how to put their money and resources to work for them, and almost all of them have at least 2 or 3 or 4 or more sources of income, investments and financial securities, real estate, angel investing, and partnerships. While multiple sources of income certainly help them increase their wealth, they are laser focused on one income stream first, then diversify once they hit a level of stability. Almost every millionaire I've interviewed or met or associate with have some sort of rigorous workout routine, weightlifting, marathons, triathlons, running, so on and so forth. They are leaders in their business, but they are also leaders at the gym. There's a correlation between breaking down barriers and fitness and breaking them down in a business and in your mind. They're both about strength and confidence, discipline and commitment. Weak won't cut it. So get working on your fitness and the rest will seem a little less daunting. I have yet to meet a millionaire who doesn't do a lot of reading. I'm not talking about Harry Potter or the Hunger Games. I'm talking about the real books with real practical tips for personal and professional growth. For people who want to constantly improve themselves and their businesses, books, digital books, whatever you want to call them, are a great way to learn about success, whether you have been where you are now and have something valuable to teach you. It's like having some of the best business minds in our generations mentor you. Read a lot and read often. You don't have to have a blog to be a millionaire, but it wouldn't hurt. A lot of successful people out there are getting started in blogging. It's a powerful tool because documenting your own journey and inspirations you go through is a sort of self-discovery process while also growing your reputation in business. If you're not ready to share everything on the public blog, try keeping it handwritten in journals instead that are private to you. The introspective of writing process reminds you of what you've been through and where you want to go. Writing down your goals is an incredible way to make sure they happen. I think Jim Rohn said it best, it's challenging to be a student of your own life, your own future, your own destiny. Don't trust your memory. When you listen to something valuable, write it down. When you come across something important, write it down. Take the time to keep notes and keep a journal. Let's look at the assignment for step 3 here. Let's break it down for you. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to pick up the book. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. You can go to Amazon.com right now. You could probably even get the book for $10, $20, something like that. I highly recommend it. Go and get it right now. Pause this video and go to Amazon and just buy it. If you actually go and read it, you'll be one of the very few who actually go and do this assignment. This is an important step, and I really want to stress it. If you want to get the results that the top 5% of our clients or students get, you have to be willing to do what most aren't willing to do. Most aren't willing to go buy a cheap book like this, a very good book that's worth its value by 1,000-fold, a book that would change your whole perspective and likely your life. I want you to be the one who is willing to do it. So go and get the book right now. The other thing is I want you to pick up is, you might as well have heard of this one. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. This book is really about leverage. It's about learning systems and procedures to automate and rapidly grow any business. It's about working smarter, not harder. It's an awesome book. The concepts that he talks about in this book have changed a lot of lives. It might sound a little bit ridiculous, the idea of working 4 hours in a work week, but he talks about it, how it's impossible, or how it's truly possible through leverage, through systems. It's really a good book, and both of these books will get you adjusting your mindset over the entrepreneurial side. You'll begin to see things from the viewpoint of the wealthy, and you'll also see why these steps is such a powerful wealth building and lifestyle system. The last thing I want you to do is by far the most important. I want you to reach out to your coach right now and let them know that you've completed these steps 1, 2, and 3. I want you to email them. I want you to send them a Skype message, them, pick up the phone and actually call them. A lot of people say they'll send an email and that's enough, but we need to be talking to you. We want to hear your feedback. We want to connect with you and help you. We want to know that you're understanding everything. There's also a few other important points that we need to discuss at this point. So please reach out to your coach. Most of them will prefer Skype. If you haven't got Skype, then just go download Skype.com and download it. Again, make sure you send them an email, Skype message, whatever it may be. Okay, give them a call. Get in touch with your coach. Okay, step 4 is where you're going to get really excited. This is where we're going to be talking about the business model. We're going to be getting to showing you how to actually make money, how to get to 6, 7, and 8 figures. Some of you possibly want to even make more than that. And it's all possible to work from home on your own terms, your own boss, without going back and forth and all of those kind of things. Go ahead and reach out to your coach right now and get into step 4 here on the next step, and I will see you on the next step. Take care.